out and kōrero to the kaihikoi. Will he be given space to kōrero?
Well, I've seen the program. He's definitely not got his name on it. So, I think David's speaking was last Thursday when he showed the world that he doesn't believe that the Māori have any rights, that the rights enshrined in Te Tiriti don't exist, and the very place that we're in today doesn't exist because of Te Tiriti. So I think he's had his time to speak.
You're saying he's not welcome?
It's not my place to say whether he's welcome or not. I think that he's had his time to speak. He started the attack. And I think this is what we've got to remember. No one asked for this. He doesn't have a Māori mandate. With most of the Māori mandated seats are with Te Pāti Māori. And he hasn't been asked by any chiefs of any iwi or hapu that I know. And certainly, we haven't seen King Charles ask him to do this. He's determined his path, and he started this attack on Te Ao Māori. So. I don't think David's equipped to be talking about Ngāti Toa's Haka. But Haka is a challenge, and it is an absolute challenge to anyone that's attacking our mokopuna's rights to be who we are. Again, no one, and we've had multiple media offshore that have contacted, just had BBC, and I think this morning, and they're in shock that this is what's at play politically. Absolutely, we should have a discussion about transformational change, matiki mai, te tiriti, but not in the form that David has brought it into the House. It doesn't belong with politicians to tinker and to play around for the absolute purpose of removing our rights.
But what it also highlighted is the monocultural process of Parliament. And if this is the People's Parliament, then this is how we kōrero, this is how Māori kōrero, then why all of a sudden is it unparliamentary to kōrero in a Te Ao Māori?
Oh, look, I think it's unparliamentary to be debating Te Tiriti. That's it. The minute that he brought that attack into the House, because it's not the government who determines tino rangatiratanga, it's not the government who should be rewriting or tinkering with Te Tiriti. So, you've got to expect a defence back. No Māori wants to be doing this right now. There's so much else we could be doing. But I think, again, David, for whatever reason, has launched this attack. And, you've got to remember the sense of betrayal. Te Ao Māori and, Te iwi Māori are having a huge sense of betrayal that the government, that the Prime Minister has thought it fit enough to trade off our rights and interests, to trade off our mana at the cost of a 3-year coalition agreement. So there's just huge, deep sense of sadness and, real deep sense of betrayal. Yeah. Shane Jones has lodged a complaint about Rawiri and I, and again these allegations about staff and certainly targeted at Hana again. And we, yeah, he wasn't actually here. It looks like it's mainly about the last Thursday, about the Haka, but again, Shane Jones wasn't actually here, so he's. Well, it seems we're going to find out sooner or later if you can, because he's lodged it, and it's again. I think he's retaliating. Everything's extremely heightened, but I want to emotionally heightened. But I also want to assure that I've spent 4 days of the 7 days, I think, with the hikoi. And oh my gosh, we might need to take a leaf out of their book, because the discipline in the aroha, the amount of Pākehā and Māori, Pacifica, Asian that are walking, that are on the sidelines, have just been really phenomenal. So I have nothing but, absolute, and to see our Queenie's coming, absolute love for what I see that this hikoi is doing. Again, in the context that, the attacks, the sense of betrayal, and things they've had to roll out in the last week are things that I don't think any living Māori's seen. It looks like he's asking for the Speaker to send it to privileges. Yeah, absolutely. I'm not sure. I think the first thing is that I'm not 100% sure, because I think he thinks that staff don't have a right to preserve seats for public in the gallery. But when iwi ring us and they ask us to go downstairs and book out 20 seats for an iwi or hapu, we're going to do it. And that's who we serve. So it wasn't Shane's typical type of letter. He looks a little bit triggered.
Are you prepared to pay further consequences if that's not comfortable?
Oh, we're prepared to do whatever it is that we are required to do by those that we serve. And those we serve are those who want peace in Aotearoa. You know.
The punishment for Hana has been stand down in the house for 24 hours. Does that mean does that mean much?
I think so if we just can go back and rewind it a little bit. So Hana ripped a piece of paper that showed how light that bill is. Because if it was a fast track bill, I'd be still sitting here trying to get through it. So she showed how something so important to us is so insignificant in the House. The second thing she did was launch into the Haka after a debate. Now, Te Pāti Māori has done it numerous times. In fact, we even did it when Mika came on. So, you know, we've done it at numerous kaupapa. The fact that the how it was and the passion that was is actually indicative of the huge sense of betrayal and the huge sense of sadness that we have to be able to defend ourselves. Because this is nothing more than, it doesn't matter how we dress it up, this is nothing more than us having to defend that we exist, that we have rights and interests, that our tupuna existed, and they had the love for a nation and created te tiriti. That's what it's about.
The amount of encouragement, though, or the amount of support that Hana has got, particularly amongst rangatahi, the amount of memes going around in social media, she's actually activated a cohort of rangatahi who are voters or about to vote.
Yeah, I think it's really intentional. I need to make this clear. It was really intentional for us because we could see domestically how it is that we're going to get support and what we have to take on. But it was really important for us to initiate and show the world what it is that Aotearoa is contending with and the politics, the style of politicking that has been targeted towards Indigenous peoples. So that was extremely intentional. And, you know, we've been obviously rewarded with that intention by the hundreds of millions and the interests that have come on globally. You know, Aotearoa doesn't deserve to be, and none of us deserves to be, in this this mess, this mosh pit that we're in. You know, what we deserve to be is debating issues, but this kind of kōrero about te tiriti doesn't belong in this House. It should never have come into this House. This is something that Mātaki mai, in fact, the previous national government had led a decent conversation, and that's where it should be. So there's only one reason that we're having this debate now, and that's because, you know, again, the coalition agreement believes that Māori rights were tradable, and the mana that we have is less than the mana of their coalition agreement. And so that's a heavy thing for ones like Hana and our rangatahi to carry, and you know, we'll make way so that she can express herself, and the consequences, you know, I mean, I think anyone that takes on Hana right now have to be ready for the backlash that comes from the wider world, but, you know, we're up for it. Yeah, I think our preference is, and we've said this today at the Select Committee, is to have the Select Committee as short as possible, and for the reason that we want to stop the harm. Because then we can all see the harm going on. And by harm, I mean the division, the hurt, the sense of betrayal. So that's, yeah, our view. I don't know. I think it's going to be right up until we can calm things. I think the biggest thing that we have to do after this is talk about what te tiriti does mean to us and what we can progressively do to restore everything.
How does it make you feel that National doesn't support this bill, but this is the thing that they've compromised on during coalition negotiations, to have this debate, to cause all this anger, for it to just be shut down, they've allowed this process to play out regardless? How does that make you feel?
I think that's the huge sense of betrayal we feel in front of the world. I think that's a huge sense of betrayal.
The recommendations in Mātaki Mai, is that the end game?
No, I think Mātaki mai, in fact, encouraged that we continue off to go and have a conversation, and not in here, not with the politicians, and not where rights and interests of another people's is actually traded off. It was a conversation that we go off and we talk about what that could look like. What would transformational change look like in Aotearoa? And that's a really healthy conversation to be had, but not led by somebody who's had 8% of the votes, or someone whose whole agenda is to remove the rights and interests that Māori have. And let's talk about what that quantifies into. The ability to say yes or no to polluters and to exploiters, to be able to assert ourselves. So that's what we're talking about here.
But those recommendations ultimately involve really Māori sovereignty.
That's right. That's right.
So that's the end goal.
I think the end goal has to be the restoration of what Māori sovereignty was, the hour, the minute, the second before our natural development was interfered with. What that means in a contemporary sense is no less than what it was felt like in te tiriti. But I guess, again, that's a conversation that we welcome, that we have in a really progressive way, that becomes something that multiple, and Mātaki mai had tens of thousands of people that engaged, and I welcome you to look at that, and it was really progressive, multiple ages, multiple socio-economic, backgrounds. I think that's where it should be. It shouldn't be here as part of a coalition agreement. Yes. I mean, we've seen like tons of things, including the stupid Andrew Tate. But you know what we have been seeing again is, and we knew we had to take the debate and take it out into the wider sphere, because New Zealand and Aotearoa, we've always been seen as leading the charge. We had the first women's vote, we're anti-nuke, we've been always anti-discrimination. We're like always punched above our weight. So now we're sort of doing this. It's a real shocker, and I think we might need a little bit of outside pressure